Hi, I'm Evelyn Jerome-Alexander. I'm the founder of Magellan College Counseling. I am based personally in the Los Angeles area, and our team of about 20 counselors is sprinkled across the country, and we work with students all over the United States, helping them find the academic programs that really fit them, and also support them emotionally and socially while fitting their parents' pocketbook. So that's our goal as we guide students through the college search and application process. And today we are here to talk about computer science and engineering programs and how to tell if a program is good. I know a lot of people rely on rankings. There are a handful of organizations out there that create these lists, and sometimes they're based on lots of different data points, some of which are not really related to the actual quality of the program that students are receiving, especially at the undergraduate level. So I have invited two admission officers from from Ohio University, and from the University of Rochester, to join me to have this conversation. And what I'm going to do is we're going to talk. I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment. We're going to talk about engineering and computer science. We're going to show you a couple things that will help you as you are looking through schools and looking to build your list. And then when we get to the end, I'm going to let Sung and Nick talk about their respective schools for just a little bit, a couple minutes each, just so you have a little bit deeper understanding of what each of their schools is good at. I will tell you that I have visited both of their schools varying lengths of time ago. I was actually at the University of Rochester just about a year ago. It's been a while since I've been to Ohio U, but I have very good memories of Athens. I thought it was really such a cute little college town. And the funny thing is, when a student says, I want to go to school in a college town, to me, I think of Ohio University. So let you guys introduce yourselves and let's get started. So Nick, why don't you go first?
Thanks, Evelyn. My name's Nick Albanese. I'm a Regional Associate Director of Admissions for the University of Rochester. Rochester is in upstate New York, but I'm actually located in California. So I live in Southern California, but I cover all of the Western US. I also work with our New England regions now as well. And this, I believe, is my 14th year in admissions. I was just trying to count before we started. And the second institution that I work for, I used to work for a smaller liberal arts college. So it's been fun getting to know a university that offers lots of robust engineering and applied sciences programs. But I'll turn it over to you, Simon.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Evelyn, for having us. My name is Sung An. I'm the Senior Regional Recruitment Manager here at Ohio University. We're a public institution located in Athens, Ohio, which is about an hour south of Columbus, the state capital. I am also based remotely here in Southern California in the Los Angeles area, where I grew up. And this is year 9 for me in college admissions. I've worked at 3 different public institutions, but during my time at OU, it's allowed me to reconnect with my Midwestern roots, having gone to college in the Midwest after growing up primarily on the West Coast here. So really happy to be sharing some insights there.
Super. And the funny thing is, those introductions, they just revealed two little secrets. Number one, we have an organization, there's actually a national organization called NARAC. And we have an organization here in California called Regional Admissions Counselors of California. And there are universities all over the country that have admission staff strategically placed all over the country, which indicates their commitment to recruiting students from different regions, right? So Sung and Nick I see them kind of on a regular basis because they're constantly out giving presentations, and I'm of course constantly out listening to admission officers tell us what's new about their universities. To me, what these organizations tell us is how dedicated universities all over the country are to bringing in a diverse, geographically diverse group of students. So I rely on my regional admissions counselors that are located in California a lot. And the other thing that they revealed is both of them have worked for other universities. So we really have a wealth of information here. As Nick said, he used to work for a small liberal arts college. And Sung used to work for, well, I met you when you worked for Arizona State University, so pretty much the largest or one of the largest public universities in the country. And funny enough, we had a couple days ago, we had a webinar with some liberal arts college admissions folks. And I think some of the themes that we are going to talk about today will actually overlap in a very interesting way. And I will point that out when it happens. But let me just dig right in and ask you guys, and maybe Sung, you can kick us off a little bit. If you are a 10th grade family, an 11th grade family, and you know you want to be an engineer, what, aside from rankings, what should you be looking for as you get started building your college list, and then narrowing it down?
Yeah, so for students who have a fairly clear idea of what they're wanting to study going into engineering, and if they're knowing what their career path is going to look like, a couple of things that you want to have squared away is one, the programs that you're looking at, if they are accredited, there's a major accrediting body for different institutions called ABET, so which many engineering programs have accreditation for their different programs. In addition, the opportunity to get the licensures, the classifications for the different positions that your student may be looking at upon graduation. The programs have those direct relationships and will give you insights as to how to acquire those licenses. Being able to get that at the very minimum, you want to be sure that that everything's building there so that your investment is worthwhile to start.
Yep. Nick, I feel like you can add to this because we had a conversation the other day about licensure, which, there's what, a couple dozen different varieties of engineering. So give us a little bit of information on how that whole licensure process works and how the college you go to plays a role in your moving to that next step in your career.
Yeah, I think like Sun was saying, ABET is a great place to start. They're a nonprofit body, and they basically accredit these engineering programs and institutions because in many states, if you want to be a licensed professional engineer, you're going to need to attend a university that's ABET accredited. I feel like there's pretty strong overlap as well between the Carnegie R1 research universities. So, these are institutions where there's at least $50 million annually in research expenditures and at least 70 doctoral candidates awarded. So I think for students, as you're kind of starting to look, if you start with the Carnegie R1 schools and ABET accredited programs, which again, they're almost always going to overlap, you know that you have a quote unquote good program because it's been accredited. It's going to prepare you for licensure. It's going to give you all the things you need to be ready for engineering. Beyond that, I think sometimes there's this notion that I've got to go to a quote unquote top school. It's got to be high in the U.S. News World Report rankings or other kinds of things like that. But to your point, Evelyn, I think sometimes those rankings are based on criteria that is kind of standardized, but a lot of these things are not always the case. And also, I think there's a big personal component to this. Let's say you have a sick family member and you don't want to be more than a couple hours from home. Well, there you go. That's going to limit your criteria, right? Or if you think that you would thrive in a smaller academic setting where you can get to know the teachers and you need that classroom interaction to be successful in the learning environment. Well, maybe a very large institution with big lecture halls and sometimes those quote unquote leader classes is not going to be the right environment for you. So yes, rankings are one thing, but I would say a much lower consideration in your priorities. I think first you want to ask yourself, what are some important criteria to me in this college search process? What am I looking for here in terms of how I'm going to thrive and be successful um, with the academic environment, with the social environment and the opportunities available to really thrive and develop those soft skills, because those are super important for landing a job in engineering. And then, of course, making sure that the basics are covered, like it's an ABET accredited program. Hopefully, there's lots of research opportunities, because we know engineering is one of those fields where folks are often going on to advanced degrees. And so being in an environment that will prepare you for both career preparation and research experience, I think are really key things there too. And focusing less on rankings and a rank order. Like, is this rank number 5 or number 10? If it's an R1 school and it's ABET accredited and it's one of those couple hundred institutions, you're pretty set there.
Okay, so there's two things I want to pick up on. And Sung, if you want to jump in here, I definitely want to pick up on the research aspect of what you just talked about. And Sung, maybe you can pick up on that. And then Nick, I want you to, going back to what you said about the environment and the small college, maybe a small college is better for you. Because you used to work at a school that has a 3-2 program. And I think a lot of people might not know what that is. So maybe you can help us understand what it is, what you get from it, how long it takes, and all that stuff. So Sung, do you want to talk about research? And if you want me to share my screen and do a little digging like we did the other day, you tell me when you're ready for that.
Sure. Yeah. So when we're looking at research opportunities, I think certainly being able to go to the school's website and look and searching through the either uh, specifically the engineering college's homepage, you'll be able to find information about not only the academic majors, but also the research opportunities. A good place to start would be to visit as you're going through the academic programs, taking a look at what the faculty are up to. Oftentimes, your initial point of contact could be a simple email to the professor, letting them know that you have an interest in this particular area. If you've done some work during your high school education experience, and you've had those connections there, oftentimes that initial cover letter could be your way of acquiring information. And certainly, taking a look at multiple programs would be helpful to you. And I could even take just the idea of a first impression making an impact on your perception of a school. You may find that some schools that may be quote unquote higher on the lists you may not get that quick of a response. Whereas other programs, if they're a little bit smaller, you may be able to get that more likely to get that one-on-one attention. Part of it comes down to the fact that certain schools will have a higher priority for their graduate students in terms of the research opportunities, whereas the undergraduate experience may be emphasized at other places. So with that, with the research opportunities, taking a look at the different projects that have been presented, learning about the different showcases that engineering programs have for their students. I know at my previous institution we had sort of a demo day, a demonstration day, where they'd be able to present the different projects that they've done. So oftentimes the websites will also showcase what's been done in the past to give you an idea of what you may be interested in pursuing.
So I'll tell you what, I want to just show people kind of what we're talking about. So I just chose a university that is not one that these guys work for, just so we can all be kind of seeing things for the first time. So I chose University of Tennessee, and we kind of all agreed that we would probably, go definitely to academics, either programs or areas of study. So let's click on programs and see where that takes us. What I always tell my students about a college website is you can't break it. If you click on something and it doesn't yield what you thought it was going to yield, back up, try again. So we're looking for, so this is telling me all of the programs, which is not actually what I wanted. So maybe areas of study was a better way to go, because what I'm really looking for is, yeah, engineering. So let's click into here and let's see if it takes us to, oh, we liked this actually. So it tells you what careers are available. If you choose engineering, if you choose math, that's pretty cool. Potential employers. If it were me, I would want this to be much more specific. Like I would want to know specifically where the graduates are finding employment after they graduate from this school. But what I'm really looking for is, yeah, so I'm looking for the College of Engineering. So let's pop into here and let's see what we can find. So Sung, one of the things, so right here on their main page for the College of Engineering, they have a tab that says research. So this is kind of cool. And it's probably gonna, and they have a link for undergraduate research. So that kind of tells me that they're prioritizing undergraduates. So that's good. And here they're telling you the different fellowships and scholarships that their students, their undergraduates do. So that's really cool. This is something you definitely want to work for because, like Sung said, engineering employers are looking for they're not necessarily looking for specific knowledge. They can teach you what you need to know, but they can't teach you how to collaborate. They can't teach you how to, work in a group and get a project done. So I would definitely be looking at undergraduate research opportunities. So look at this. They have coaching. That's pretty cool. They've got, wow, that's really cool. What I also liked, Sung, about what you said was, and I'm going to back up because I want to go, okay, so I'm in the College of Engineering. Most colleges within a university are have a place where they show you their people. And sometimes people means professors, faculty. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And I'm not seeing it. So that is a little bit frustrating. Undergraduates, graduates, departments, first year programs. So you might want to look at the first year program to see what you will. So for example, my first question is when I apply to this school, am I applying as a mechanical engineering, major or a biomedical engineer, or am I applying as an engineer and everyone does the same first year program? So there's some schools where every engineer does the same first year curriculum. So it looks like that might be what they do here. So you get an overview of all 11 majors. Look, this looks great. This is what you're going to get with their first year engineering program. So that's really cool. But what I was really looking for is the faculty, and I'm not finding it. Although they are telling you, let's see what the department research. Sometimes they'll give you a whole list of the faculty and it'll tell you what each professor's research interest is. To me, that's a great way to see, is this school a good fit for me? Because if one or more of those professors is researching something that I'm interested in, that's a great indication. But I do think that wow, this is great, actually. So this is all the research that's happening in each department within the College of Engineering. That's pretty cool, actually. So if you were a computer science or electrical engineering major, there's research happening in all of these different areas. So that's pretty cool. And then it gives you a link to the department. So you guys understand how colleges and universities are organized. So there's like, university is like an umbrella, a college is like a school under the umbrella, and then a school has departments, right? That's kind of the way that they're organized. What else would you guys be looking for? By the way, this is part of why I picked this school. They are literally right near a national nuclear facility. This is a great place to study any kind of engineering, actually, but lots of different kinds that are related to nuclear energy. What else would you guys say about, like, what should we be looking for on a website as we're deciding, is this a good fit? Is this a good program?
Well, I think some other areas, or some kind of broad areas to consider are like the infrastructure of the program. So, does the school have the resources that would benefit you? What's the availability of the classes? What kind of laboratories and equipment do they have? What kinds of funding opportunities are there for research?
Yep.
Are there grants? Do they list the internships? And are the internships a co-op program where maybe you're spending an entire semester or quarter, depending on, or maybe 2 quarters, depending on the type of system. But are you spending a lengthy amount of time in one industry, or do students tend to do internships and maybe have multiple internships versus co-ops and have multiple experiences that are maybe a little shorter, but maybe getting a bigger variety. Things like I think, to your point, Evelyn, like the faculty research areas is a big one. Like how many labs are there? Are there trends, or are there things that seem to be strengths for that school? Um, I think kind of getting a sense of like what are the top industries and employers in the area maybe as well, for
Yep.
those internships, and do students tend to do them there or in other places? And some of these things are going to be really apparent on the websites, but every website is a little different. And I think sometimes it might help to start with, just kind of what are some of my basic criteria? Like, do I want a big school? Do I want a small school? Am I interested in research? So what are those R1 institutions that are in states or areas where I'd want to be?
Yep.
Making the big list and then starting to narrow it down, by really digging in, looking on the website, but also reaching out to admissions. Like I know Sung and I, at least I like to say in admissions, we don't know everything, but we know the people who do, and we can be that
Yep.
connected for you.
Yep.
So we're happy to facilitate those discussions. And, sometimes students will send me a list of 5 questions, and I'll write back 2 pages worth of information and links and things that they can find. So, I would say your admissions counselor is a good place to start as well. And you can usually find that, if you go to the admissions page of the website, and there's usually some kind of like meet your counselor page or get to know us or
Yep.
that kind of thing. And you can find who your counselor is. They're often assigned by a territory or by a region.
Yep. Sometimes you have to type in your state or your high school to figure out who it is. I just want to point out, I stopped sharing my screen, but I want to point out one other thing. One of the things I really love about usually engineering and business colleges within a larger university do this. They have special student organizations that are just for the students in that discipline. And I think that that's one indication of, because I'm not going to click on it and share again, but what you'll find is that this indicates that this college is very heavily pre-professional, and they are, preparing you for the next step, right? So the students in that school, not only do they do engineering, all day in school, but in their free time, they, do robotics. They pursue activities that are basically related to what they're studying. And I think you'll find those specialty student organizations are almost always going to be connected to a career fair, career coaching, interview prep. So I saw that on the Tickle College of Engineering website, and I just wanted to point that out. Sung, you looked like you wanted to jump in on what Nick was saying.
Yeah, no, or even to what both of you were mentioning, just with these pre-professional programs, I've also found that for students who want to get a leg up on just the interpersonal communications, project management skill set that really helps with advancing within the leadership realm coming out of college, just being able to see what pathways between multiple majors exist. So I've seen, for instance, within the College of Business, there's oftentimes some connections with supply chain management or systems engineering. Being able to have students see those connections on how they can make themselves more marketable. So certainly identifying those pathways as well.
That's great. So I want to get into, oh, sorry, Nick, I want you to tell us about the 3-2 program, because I think people don't know really what that is.
Yeah. I mean, I think the big thing to know about that is, that there's really a pathway for engineering, for STEM, for a really wide variety of students. I think sometimes we get really caught up in, kind of the big ticket items, like computer science, for example, which is super in demand, might be capacity constrained, especially at the very name brand kind of highly ranked institutions. So are you coming in as a pre-major? Are you going to be able to get your classes and finish in 4 years? Are you going to be able to get that interaction and that attention? And are you academically prepared? Have you taken calculus? Have you gone beyond and maybe done things like linear algebra? And have you worked on projects and coding? And are you sure you want to do that? When there might be other options, there might be things like data science, or there might be things, that combine aspects of what you'd be doing in CS without necessarily that level of competition. So, if you're a sophomore or a freshman watching this, you have plenty of time to talk to your school counselor and to and your independent counselor, and get a sense of what are some things I should be doing to put myself on track for a career in engineering? Let's really explore the types of engineering, the types of careers. And if I know that for sure, yes, I'm interested in these very competitive things, I want to start preparing myself. But if you're a junior or senior watching this, and maybe you haven't had that level of academic preparation, or maybe your school doesn't offer things like calculus, or lets you kind of be the most competitive for some of these super constrained programs, there's always a pathway. And so I think things like the 3-2 programs are really great because you could go to a small liberal arts college that maybe has a higher acceptance rate, but is a great fit for you. It's a place where maybe you have 15 kids in the classroom. You know every one of those teachers. If you're missing class or you're late to class, you're going to have someone who actually notices that and doesn't let you fall behind. And be in the kind of environment where you're going to thrive. So at my last institution, we actually had a partnership with a top 20 engineering school. And we were a school that had over 70% acceptance rate. And so, for a student who maybe wasn't as sure that they wanted to study engineering, or who maybe didn't have those super competitive qualifications like calculus or that kind of thing, they could be admitted. They could be in a very supportive environment for the first 2 to 3 years, depending on the type of program. Some of them are 2-3, some of them are 3-2, some of them they're all different kinds of configurations. But you go to your institution, you get that attention, you build up your academic and those soft skills, and then you're ready to go on to sometimes that much larger environment, to that really competitive program that can sometimes be a bit more cutthroat, but you're ready by that point. And then you have a guaranteed, basically like transfer agreement to that engineering program or whatever it might be. So that could be a great option. I think also, schools that might offer things like engineering science. So, you have engineering, but then there's also engineering science, and maybe more applying what you're learning, and versus being the one, I think engineers tend to be the people, especially if they have licensure, they're doing a lot of the planning. But then engineering science students are really taught to implement that planning. So maybe if you're more of an implementer and you're more of someone who's going to enjoy less of the sort of intellectualizing things and more of applying things, well, a lot of those careers they're still challenging, rigorous programs, but they might require slightly less advanced math and that kind of thing as well. And they might be a little bit more aligned, or much more aligned for professions versus research and that kind of thing. So maybe you're not as interested in research and you want to go into a profession, and maybe you don't have the highest level of math, but you're still very bright and you're smart and you enjoy math and those kinds of things, and you would like implementing. Well, maybe those might be programs for you. So I think all good things to kind of explore, but just knowing that there's always a pathway, regardless of where you're at. And working with someone like Evelyn can really help you to kind of narrow down, depending on what age you are, what steps should I be taking next, depending on my environment and what's available to me and my interests.
Right. Thank you for that. So basically you spend 3 years at a liberal arts college. You'll major in math, you'll major in physics, you could major in kind of whatever you want, but as long as you have the preparation to move on to the advanced engineering. So you're there for 5 years. Well, you're at one place for 3 years, you're at the next place for 2 years. You end up with a Bachelor of Arts degree from the liberal arts college and a Bachelor of Science degree so 2 bachelor's degrees in 5 years.
And sometimes there might even be a master's component to that as well. So you could spend one more year.
Yes.
And sometimes they'll waive the GRE requirement, that the graduate exam to get into the graduate school. Sometimes they'll give you a tuition discount on that graduate year, because you are spending an extra years and moving around to different locations for these kinds of things. But then you can come out very prepared and potentially at a slightly higher starting salary too. So that could be a great option for the right kind of student, for sure.
One of the points you mentioned was access to faculty. Liberal arts colleges are sort of known for very, very hands-on faculty. And I think that's one thing. I'm going to share this link. So a number of years ago, the Gallup organization, which does polling, right, they surveyed what a successful college experience should look like. And you'll see that if you click on that link, there's basically two categories, right? The first category is what support am I getting from the faculty? Um, how much access do I have to a faculty member? And that's something that, the faculty to student to faculty ratio can tell you, like you said, am I going to be able to get all my classes? That's something you can research when you're, building your college list. And the other category is experiential. And what the survey basically found is people who were involved in some type of experiential learning, which could be study abroad, it could be, project work or an internship or a co-op. It could also be extracurricular activities. Those, like I said, with the student organizations that are connected to the academics, those are really integral parts of a successful, like a student graduating from college feeling like that was a successful experience. And these are all things that you can and should research as you're building your list. And funny enough, somebody else did a survey. I'm dropping this other link in the chat. Somebody else did a survey of what employers are looking for. And it's not what school you went to. It's not the ranking of the school you went to. And it's almost not a lot what major you had, right? They don't really care what you learned. What they care about is what have you done? What jobs did you have during college? What internships did you have? What can you show me that you've done? And can you show me that you are a positive coworker, a successful coworker? That's what's going to get you your first job out of college. And then funny enough, what's going to get you your second job out of college is what the people at your first job say, not the name of your school. This is how we sort of defeat the rankings, right? Is we show people the reality of what employers are really looking for. Sung, what do you want to add about, can you talk to us a little bit about why computer science programs are so competitive? I mean, we all understand that it's a very in-demand major, but if you look around the country, you've got schools that have a, 40% acceptance rate, but their computer science program acceptance rate's like, 8.
Yeah, certainly the reputations of certain programs tracks, and it's it puts those programs in high demand. Oftentimes, those programs may be located to particular centers where a lot's being done. So Silicon Valley would be certainly one example there. I could also imagine just again, it's just that perception, just the feelings that the outcomes are solely associated with those types of those programs. But really going back to what we've talked about so far, the fact that the customization of the experience, being able to know exactly what you want to get yourself into, whether it be through multiple internships, a co-op experience, uh, really customizing how you want to learn, having and just developing that awareness of what your strengths are, and just realizing that you don't have to have everything set even coming out of high school. I think sometimes students may put a lot of undue pressure on themselves to just feel like they have to attain everything immediately. We often forget that college is merely a step on the way in the journey. It is not the destination. And so really the pressure isn't so much that to at least have this box checked, so to speak. It's really just embracing the journey and knowing just as you're developing these skills, opening yourself up to new experiences, interacting with different types of folks that from all different, not only different walks of life outside of your major, but also getting to know the faculty, appreciating their knowledge and their experiences. Oftentimes, the faculty, even at those super selective institutions, they're coming from completely different areas as well, where maybe it wasn't as selective. So
That's kind of why I love those exploratory engineering programs. 65% of college students change their major. Um, it's a huge number. And even if you're pretty sure you know what you want to study when you start college, the chances are pretty high that you're not going to graduate with that having been your major. So to me, the opportunity to really explore And I think engineering is a beautiful example because there are so many different disciplines. And when you're in high school, you may not know what civil engineering is or mechanical engineering until you get there and you realize, oh my God, I get to build stuff. That's perfect. Um, okay, tell me what each of you guys want to add, specifically on engineering and or computer science, and then I'm going to let you guys jump in and tell us a little bit more about your schools.
Well, I mean, I think these were all amazing points. I think if I could just hammer home one thing, I think we've said it a few times is rather than focusing on is this school position 5 or 10 or 15 in some list of rankings, which by the way, they're always going to change. They always need to update the criteria every few years to be relevant, right? And to have and to have different positions. But just focusing on is the bread and butter there? Is it ABET accredited? Is it R1 if you're interested in research? Does it meet some of my basic criteria of what I'm looking for in a school and the kind of environment that I want? I really don't think you can go wrong with that. And really underscoring just how important it is to grow as a person, how important it is to develop these soft skills. And then, just in terms of engineering computer science, specifically, I think, kind of thinking about, are there certain, things that I want to work on. And I think in order to get some of that experience in high school, it's great if you can find a way to work on a project. There's lots of free resources online. If you just Google like coding projects, maybe you can go to a hackathon or that kind of thing over the summer.
Yep.
Just trying to get some experience and exposure to it to ask yourself, okay, is this what I actually like about this, or is it something else? Maybe I really enjoy the organization. So maybe I'd be more interested in like project management or something by being involved in this. Or sometimes I talk to students who are on robotics teams or clubs or things like that in high school. But they actually really love like the marketing or they love kind of the business side of it or the sales side of it. And those are all things that you can do. You can study something like engineering science, for example, or I'm sorry, engineering studies like my university has, and I'm assuming lots of other universities probably have something like that, where maybe you're not as interested in pursuing the ABET accredited licensure and that kind of thing in the future. You just want to kind of know the basics about engineering, and then that kind of program often has less requirements, so it's easy to double major or combine it with something else like business, entrepreneurship, marketing, or some other area, so that maybe you'd be prepared to be a consultant or something like that in the future too. So there's all kinds of ways to interact with STEM, engineering, computer science, without having the stereotypical majors or careers. There's lots of different ways to approach it. But if you're passionate about it, you'll find a way. And I think the more exploration you can do in high school, the better for these things.
Yep, sounds great. Some final words of wisdom, and then we'll let Nick talk about Rochester.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, kind of hammering what I mentioned previously, just the time that you're spending during your undergraduate years is a place where you're sort of a blank slate again, in that you're connecting with different types of people again, getting involved. One of my friends who's an engineer up in the San Francisco Bay Area talked about one of his regrets from his undergraduate experience was the fact that he was so focused on studying, making sure that he was taking care of the academic side of things, that he failed to realize the opportunities that existed within the student organizations. Being able to see not only the networking that exists in there, but just again building those soft skills, reinforcing just the different levels of knowledge that you need as you're going through the different projects that may be involved. So whether it's the Baja Racers or the Concrete Canoeing Club, or or even organizations like the Society of Women Engineers, being able to find that network, lifelong friends, being able to go out into a sometimes unforgiving world, certainly having that support system, being able to develop those bonds. They're going to be following you and will continue to make dividends just based on how you're investing your time in there. So being able to find the place where you can interact with those opportunities, as well as building the skills that you need through an ABET accredited institution, or a place where where high levels of research are being done, so you can access those opportunities. Being able to integrate both sides is certainly going to set you up for success.
Yeah, and that's why we talk about, making your list of schools where you will find academic, social, and emotional success. And the funny thing is, you guys, these are the people who read the applications. And what do we always say? They're looking to build community. They're not just looking for the smartest kids, plucking the smartest kids off the top. They're not just looking at your transcript. They're looking at how you have contributed to your community in high school because of exactly what Sung just said, because you will be contributing to your community in college, and they need information on how you've done that in your past to sort of extrapolate how you will do that in your future. So the funny thing is, doing that research as you build your college list actually makes you more competitive for these schools, because knowing what they have on their campuses helps you learn if you're a good fit for their community, right? And when you write that why Rochester essay, it's not exactly that, but it's kind of a variety of that, you will have a stronger answer for having done this actual research. So with that, let me have Nick give us a little bit of info specifically on University of Rochester. Like I said, I was there about a year ago. It is a beautiful, beautiful campus. Just a stunningly beautiful campus. It is, to me, it is what college should look like.
Oh, thanks, Evelyn. Yeah, and you were there on a really fun day too during the eclipse. So a great science day, great day for science. Well, since we're talking about STEM.
Yep.
So the University of Rochester is a tier one research university. We're in this list called the AAU, the Association of American Universities. So just overall, if you look at research universities and just research in general, right? Like most of it comes from universities. It's not private institutions. It's mostly from academic R1 research universities, and the AAU schools specifically. Something like 75% of all new research and that comes out from the U.S. comes from institutions like us. There's about 70 of us in that list, but we're the third smallest and we're private. So we can provide an undergraduate experience that's much more collegial than what you might find at some of the other research universities that tend to be a bit larger, tend to have bigger class sizes, maybe not as much interaction with the faculty. So at Rochester, we require researchers to teach undergraduates. Most of our classes are small, 75% are under 30 students. But even when we have lecture halls, maybe something like a Calculus 101 or Physics 101 or something like that, we try to break it up into different sections so that you have the main lecture, you have a TA section, much smaller, and then you have these workshops with maybe 5 or 6 students so that you're working on a project throughout the year, you're getting hands-on, you're not just sitting there doing Scantrons. In terms of engineering and STEM, a little bit of history. So we date back to 1850, and between 1850 and now, some of the big things that happened in Rochester was the Kodak company coming to town. George Eastman, he invented the point and shoot camera, and because of that lens technology, the University of Rochester ended up being the #1 place in the country to study optics, so the study of light with physics. So that's really the #1 STEM program that we're known for. We have the most powerful laser lab of any college campus, the Omega laser just off campus. So students can study quantum computing and nuclear fission and cloaking technology and really neat things like that. There's lots of industry in the area in Rochester related to optics. Companies like Bosch and Lomb that design the contact lenses, or L3 Harris Technology, who employ hundreds of engineers to work on the James Webb Space Telescope. So lots of opportunities in the area, whether it's optics or things like healthcare. We have one of the largest academic medical research centers in New York State, multi-billion-dollar industry. So there's things like biomedical engineering. They might do prosthetic development or nanotechnology. And then also some cool multidisciplinary programs. We have one of the leading music schools in the world because George Eastman, who endowed our university, the founder of Kodak, he also really loved the arts. And so we have the Eastman School of Music. It's one of the top music schools in the country. And through Eastman, or that collaboration with Eastman in our engineering school, we have audio and music engineering. So that's a super cool program. They make lots of things, they're making speakers but there's also that technology side where they learn how to be technologists and work in the audio booth and do sound management and that kind of thing too. And so, yeah, we're really known for healthcare innovation, for optics, for physics, lots of great STEM programs, but really small class sizes. We get to know the researcher. Over 80% of our undergraduates do research. There's lots of funding available for those things. In a great part of New York in the Finger Lakes region, the third largest wine region in the country, by the way, although probably stick to white wines for California families. And but we have a super multicultural campus. Students from all over the world attend Rochester. We have over 100 countries represented, almost all 50 states. And so a lot of those job opportunities are actually in other parts of the country. The Bay Area is one of our biggest employers. Companies like Apple and Meta up in Seattle with Microsoft. Those are some of our top three employers for programs like computer science. So really all over the country, there's opportunities everywhere, and our alumni will help you with those things. Like Evelyn was saying, that classic looking college campus designed by Frederick Law Olmsted, who created Central Park. So it's very orderly and really takes advantage of the site on the Genesee River, about 10 miles or just a few miles from downtown Rochester. The airport's right in town.
Wait, Nick, can you go back one slide to the map? Show them where Susan B. Anthony's grave is.
Oh yeah, just there to the right. So her and Frederick Douglass are
Yep.
both pioneers for human rights,
Yep.
and whether it was the right to vote or helping to end slavery. And yeah, they're both right next door in the cemetery there. And kind of a quirky thing about East Coast schools, there's oftentimes there's a cemetery nearby, and they're actually like very beautiful, like park-like settings. And so
Yeah.
students actually do hang out in those spots. But I have to sometimes the West Coast kids are like, wait, what? Cemetery. But so that's a fun thing nearby. I don't want to take too much more time, but just a few other things. We have a really unique academic model, especially for students interested in engineering, because oftentimes these programs are direct admit to major, and they might have certain criteria. They might be a little bit less flexible, but at Rochester, we have a build your own curriculum. And so every student, whether they want to study STEM or not, is admitted to our engineering school along with the College of Arts and Science. And you can take classes there as long as you have the prereqs. Nothing's capacity constrained. And then as long as you pass the classes, you join the program in your sophomore year. But there's a lot of room in your schedule to mix and match programs. And oftentimes students studying STEM at Rochester will combine it with the arts or other areas and really pursue their passions. We have some fun, like 3-2 program, combined degree programs where you can get a graduate degree in engineering. We have things like Take 5, where let's say you're that engineering kid and maybe you just didn't get a chance to go abroad. You could do that, stay tuition free for a 5th year and have that kind of opportunity, or you want to launch a startup. We have an E5 program for that as well. So just some great opportunities there. Very vibrant student life, very residential. Students are there all 4 years. Again, you're taught by some amazing faculty. Sorry, I'll turn that off. I didn't mean to play a video. Yeah, lots of great opportunities with Rochester. I'm always happy to talk to students more. I live right in Southern California, so I'd be happy to kind of, talk about your specific interests with engineering and STEM and how that might fit and connect you with current students and faculty and that kind of thing. And then the final thing I'll just mention is that we meet full financial need. No matter what your finances are, you're covered if you're admitted at Rochester. And we also have some merit scholarships as well. So we try to make the education affordable, give you lots of funding opportunities, let you get hands-on, get to know those faculty members, and give you a lot of options when you go to the U of R.
Beautiful. Maybe Nick, you can drop your email address into the chat for everyone to see. Thank you for that lovely overview. And Sung is going to tell us about Ohio University. He's going to take your 1850 founding and raise you to 1804. So we have the first public university in the state of Ohio. Sung, you're on mute, by the way.
All right. So, oh, There we go. Okay, so yeah, so yes, 1804, along the Hocking River, the school that soon became known as the Harvard on the Hocking River. We're not a public Ivy, but the Ohio University was founded. We are the oldest institution of higher education in the Old Northwest Territory, and so we're very proud of our longstanding values for in education, certainly within, and we're very proud of our strong academic tradition. We just recently attained R1 designation through Carnegie classifications in the last 3 years, and so we've continued to build on that excellent progress there, and we've maintained a reputation for having the best value for public universities in Ohio. Based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we actually offer the highest first year starting salary for our graduates. And so, with over close to 300,000 alumni living around the world, we're really committed to creating change makers all around the world. And so, with our community that matters, this is home, beautiful Athens, Ohio, with Court Street, with the brick line pathways in front of the Alumni Gateway. We're in the part of the state that's not flat. We have lots of rolling hills. We have the traditional all four seasons feel a little less snow than one might experience, I'd say, up in Rochester. But you're going to get your full share of fall and lots of green. A lot of 20 miles of biking pathways, lots of hiking, lots of canoeing, kayaking opportunities as well for those of you who are inspired by that by those opportunities. And homecomings. And so with our student population, we're a little bit bigger. We're about 16,000 undergraduates. And so with Division One athletics, so we try to strike that balance of having a lot of the fun traditional college opportunities along with the academic opportunities. So at OU, we have 250 different academic programs. Historically, the Russ College has been of engineering and technology, has had some very strong programs in the everything from mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, as well as avionics. We're pretty unique as opposed to aerospace engineering for students who want to learn a little bit more about the electrical components of the airplane. We actually have a strong university partnership with the FAA. We partner with MIT and Princeton for that program. Along with the multitude of research opportunities, we also introduced a new AI program as that's become very popular within our student body. So students who want to dive into that, they can get connected with those opportunities. Uh, with our with our job placement rate, we're actually close to 99% in terms of students having a job or who are in grad school by the time that they graduate. With a wide variety of firms, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Intel as well. There is actually a semiconductor facility that is being built about an hour away from our campus. OU has developed some partnerships with Intel to help train some of our graduates for those types of opportunities. And so, in addition to our Russ College of Engineering, we have an outstanding Scripps College of Communication. We actually have a program for students who have an interest in audio production. We actually have a motion picture recording industry major within the Scripps College of Communication for students who want to get involved with music production. We have a brand new sound studio for students to take advantage of those opportunities if they want to get connected with that industry. And then for some of our engineering students who are interested in business, our College of Business offers co-majors in business analytics, as well as supply chain management. So you can get involved there. We also are known for having the oldest sports management program in the country. The former athletic director at Stanford is an alum of our program. So some really cool ways, again, for students to connect maybe those interests that they might have in the STEM areas into other areas. And so finally, the last unique program that we have for students who want to customize their education. We have something called the Honors Tutorial College. It is the oldest tutorial college of its kind in the United States. We modeled it after Oxford and Cambridge, where students are taking at least half of their classes in tutorial style, one-on-one experiences directly with faculty. So for students who've had a very concentrated interest in an academic area, you have the opportunity to create your own curriculum as well as complete a dissertation within your 4 years. You can take any undergraduate or graduate course that will allow you to fulfill that requirement. And so being able to, if you want to be very specific in your studies there, the Honors Tutorial College may be a great option to customize your experience and also, again, get that individualized attention. With that, I'll bring it back to you, Evelyn.
Nice. I just dropped both Nick's and Sung's email addresses into the chat. I also dropped a link to one more unique program that you forgot to mention, Sung, which is the Singing Men of Ohio. When I visited, they brought us into this round room. I don't even know where we were because there's a lot of round rooms at Ohio. And suddenly we were surrounded by an all-male a cappella group. It was so stunningly beautiful. I can't even tell you. It was, and I love a cappella. So I was like, oh my God, you guys are amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys have really helped, I think, our audience understand how to look into the quality of an engineering and a computer science program without relying on rankings. There's so many other ways to evaluate programs. And I think honestly, what it comes down to, as with everyone's college search, is this a good fit for me? So I thank you for joining us. I'm going to shut off the recording. And so if you are watching on the playback, thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, I'll make sure that everybody's contact info is below the video. Thank you for joining us.